Hello?
Check.
Can you hear me at all? Is anyone out there? We are here with Mr. Jordan XO, Jordan Atwater.
Yes,
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Thanks for coming on. Trekking through this Arctic tundra out there. Fucking making it happen.
Quite a little Midwest thing we got going on there.
Yeah, we should all be fucking used to it by now. But Jordan is a musician. He's a hip-hop artist. You do a lot of shit, actually. You kind of... What all exactly do you do? Because you like engineer too and produce and everything, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that where I have the title, but then I don't like to really claim it, you know. So
Yeah.
I engineer and I produce, but they were all just kind of things that when I was making music, I was always waiting on someone else to do it, or it was always people trying to cheat you on money or never getting your tracks back to you. And eventually I just had to say, you know, if you want to get it done, you got to do it yourself. So
Yeah,
I just kind
dude.
of picked it all up myself. So I don't like to really classify myself as an engineer producer because I know there's better out there.
Sure.
But I know how to do what I need to do to get it done because I just couldn't wait on anyone else.
Yeah, it's super convenient too, just being able to do it on your own time as well. Just like if you're in the studio or whatever, doing
Yeah.
like a million takes and shit, you don't gotta
Yeah,
worry about studio time or whatever.
exactly.
And then have your hand a hold of your own shit, so you can just fucking crank it out how you like.
Yeah, and then
But-
eventually I just got to hold everyone else's. You know, if they like the sound, I say, well, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you fair warning. It's gonna come like this or that, and you know, they'd rather just pay that price than pay some outrageous, ridiculous price, or they've already been to a studio and they've had a bad experience or something like that.
Right.
So I'm pretty open to it. They know what they're getting. I don't charge too much, so you know.
Now, are you affiliated with the East Side Sounds, the new studio that
I
opened?
operate out of their studio there. Taj and Eastside Ave, they're two brothers, and then they got that building, and they had this idea, you know, to do the studio, and it was in the talks for a while, and they're pretty much also artists that I had helped them get their start as well. Well, I'll say like their first tracks I actually recorded, and so right away, as soon as they knew they were gonna open this studio, they're like, "Hey, you did our first track. We gotta have you here." And so then that's pretty much what I did. I just kind of signed on there as one of the engineers at Eastside Sounds, and you know, my affiliation, it runs pretty strong there. You know, I help out with a couple mixes on their tapes here and there,
Mm-hmm.
as well as operating and bringing through my clientele through the Eastside Sound studio. And we tend to do a lot of shows and things like that together. So we see each other around, and we're all from the same city, so it's all pretty tight knit there anyway.
Mm-hmm. Now, and you're also a manager too, kind of. You manage some artists.
Yeah, that's another thing
Producing.
it's a title that I don't like to claim, but I claim it. It's very
It
weird.
is what it is.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing here. So it's basically like I kind of have my own label or my own team of artists. There is so many different teams and labels and stuff like that out here, and you know, I kind of watch, peep out the scene, see how everyone does their thing, and I just always have done so much better on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of staying in my own lane, in my own wave. I never really liked the idea of having someone having control over my music, my
Right.
moves, what I do. So I just always stay solo. I actually started out in a group, and that's kind of how it all went
Yeah?
down. Yeah,
What
I
was the
in.
group?
It was called BXS back in the day, like when we first started. That's what got me rapping, and so it was basically like a three-man group. I mean, it kept growing and decreasing. I mean, we were like 3-6 Mafia. At one point there was three, and then one point there was six of us. At one point there was like 11 of us, and so that's kind of where I got my first start, and I guess you could say managing and helping out artists, because like I said, we were waiting on studios and beats, and no one could ever seem to get us in or do it right. So I took it on in the group. And so I was doing like all the mixes and the masters and getting us shows like that for the group. Then eventually when the group kind of separated and everyone just kind of, it wasn't even a bad thing that happened. It was just everyone had life. Everyone just kind of went their own ways,
Right.
and then I just kind of stuck to this way. So from there, I met a few artists, and one of the last ones in the group said, I don't know what I'm finna do, but I see where this is going, so I'm gonna stick with you. He brought me one other guy, and those were like the first two artists I really ran with, and that was Liao and Keontae Watson.
Mm-hmm.
And so Liao was actually in the group. Keontae Watson was my first actual official artist. And so just working with him, and then it was basically I just got to show them everywhere that I went wrong. So any shows that I may have got scammed or I paid to play, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, we're not gonna do that. Any any way that I feel like I prematurely released music, I just kind of helped with that, or just had that guidance to be like, this isn't the track, bro. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
somebody has to tell you, otherwise you're just gonna put out material and it's not always gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very opinionated based thing. So that's what I do. I just like, okay, based off my opinion from my experience, this is why this isn't gonna be good. And that's kind of how I run my team of artists. And since him, I've had plenty other ones. JD, I had Pootieville at a time. He went by Black Keith at the time. Um, let's see, Micah Santamore, and he's currently still under the roster. Lauren Michelle, we did a lot of good things with her, and now she's actually in basics right now. So
Mm-hmm.
she's going to the reserves, and I believe she's going to be a field medic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we've had a pretty good run with the whole team thing, and teams kind of still dwindling off. Artists they come and go, kind of get into it, and they either go their own way or they see it's something that you don't really want to do. There's a lot more
Sure.
work into it than most people see from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And when they see it and when they see somebody like me helping them, instantly, first thing, put me on. Help me do this, help me do that. And I try to, you can't help everybody, but the select ones that I really see that potential and see something in them, like, okay, if you really wanted to do this, you could do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead, I'll take it on, I'll see where it goes. May not always work out, and then it might.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just a unofficial label here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, how old were you when you were in the group with all the other guys?
That all started in eighth grade, so I want to roughly say like 13.
Okay, yeah, so you're still pretty young. So, as you said, trying to deal with other people with getting beats and record, studio time and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you decided to just pick that up yourself, basically.
Yep.
Um,
And
so
then
that
I
was your
just,
first, like, just getting into the whole act of like producing music and everything as well, or?
yeah, pretty much all of that was because I started out in this group and no one could seem to help us. And then it became funny years later because, of course, once we started doing it ourselves, then everyone wanted to help.
Of
It's like,
course,
well,
yeah.
it's too late now.
It's
We've
too
done
late.
this and that,
You missed it.
and whether or not they could bring something more to the table, it's like, well, we've already started this path. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I am glad that did happen because now being through that and going through that so long, and um, I never burned any bridges. When people did come back and they wanted to offer help, I'd be like, well, we got this covered, but here's what you can help me with.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of grew a lot of connections for me. So that worked out when I started gaining more artists, and now I can basically point them and tell them where to go. You come to me, you got the budget, you got the money, you got the drive. I'm gonna just tell you where you need to put it all. I'm not gonna be too overbearing or anything like that. So,
Yeah, yeah, nice. Now, have you been a fan of music your whole life, or was there a time when you remember getting into everything initially?
I would say definitely always a fan. Actually, the kind of music that I do now probably reflects more as to what I grew up on, because I grew up in a household of a lot of like either really old school blues. 'Cause my grandpa is real southern. And, they listen to like a lot of blues, and they also listen to country a little bit.
Mhm.
And then my mom, she was real heavy on like neo soul R&B.
Okay.
So like I grew up listening to Alicia Keys, Eric Benet, India Ari, Lauryn Hill, D'Angelo, like real soulful R&B. And then now, over the years, I actually started doing some work with a magazine, and through there, I gained a vocal coach.
Nice.
I did about a year and a half, 2 years with that vocal coach, and that helped him improve my singing. And so now I've kind of incorporated that in my music, and that's why I say it probably reflects a little bit more because I wasn't always a big hip hop head.
Uh-huh.
I was a R&B junkie,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
kind of got up on that. When I got into hip hop, it's a funny story.
Was that around the time when you were like 13 then, when you started the group basically?
Yeah, so like when I got into hip hop, the funny thing was, that's when Soldier Boy came out, and the hip hop I had started listening to, like I was real into like the Nas, Talib Kweli, Black Star,
Yeah.
the real lyrical content, and I just could not get down with Soldier Boy, and I couldn't get down with everybody listening to it. Like it just, everybody has that, like with the whole mumble rap wave. I guess I was kind of that guy screaming mumble rap when Soldier Boy came out,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't rocking with it. I did not like the Superman when that came out, and it even drove me to the point that where like, you know what? If people like this, I can do this.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I started rapping. So the first song I made was like a Soldier Boy diss track, and it got around. And then, one of the homies heard it. He's like, "Oh, I rap too." We did like one freestyle on like an old MP3 player I had that had like a recording option. We just dropped a little acapella, and we was like, we kind of sound good together. So from there, things just kind of took off. And then one of our classes actually caught wind of it, and I ended up doing an entire project for my class to remix the Soulja Boy song again, but we had to make it more school appropriate. And so we made it about meth. It was probably one of the most cringe-worthy points of my career. So I'm not even going to tell you the name of it because I don't want you to look it up.
Yes, where is this released at? We need to know.
Yeah. Long gone. I buried it as much as I could. But at the time, I couldn't bury it because once we did it, the teacher, I believe he's the principal now or vice principal now, that organized it. He was like 7 feet tall and has like this huge wingspan, and he wanted to perform it with us. So everyone just thought that was the most hilarious thing ever. And his whole goal was to get 1 million views on YouTube, which is why we did this. And when we did it, we never got those 1 million views, but B100 picked it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the first song that I ever really did was a diss track, and then another remix to that diss track, which landed to B100.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's kind of how it all started.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. And then what led from there? You said you had the group, and then eventually that just kind of, some people stayed, some people found their way out and stuff. When did you, back then were you known as Jordan XO?
No, back then, so like when I first started, it was always the hardest thing to pick a name, because it was like, what's a good rapper name that doesn't sound like I'm building a creative player? So, and every name just always came up like it. And at the point, it was Lyrical Legend. And then I was like, wow, this kind of sounds really corny with the whole name like that. But I felt like I was trying to make a statement with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just eventually, as I got older, started doing shows and stuff like that, I just dropped the lyrical part. It was like the silent part of the name. So like if I was like Lil Wayne and people call me Wayne, it just dropped a little. So it was just like that for the lyrical, and then it just became Legend. And I actually kept that name through the group, through my solo career. and I had the name all the way up until about early 2018.
Yeah, because I know I remember seeing that name around before.
Yeah,
What led to the change to Jordan XL?
trademarking.
Ah.
So trademark people, copyright, trademark, do all that. The whole issue was it wasn't that anyone came after me for it. A lot of people think that I got in trouble and had to cease and desist with the name, but that wasn't the case. It was more so um, when I first put out, when I took the time to like, I paid out another engineer to do an EP of mine. So for the while, when I was in the group and I started going solo, after I got artists, I took a step back from my own music. I kind of focused on theirs. So this was like my first solo EP, and I took the time, invested the money in it to get it sounding right, got the right cover, finally went for all the major streaming platforms, and then come to find out people couldn't find my project unless they looked up my name plus the name of the project. And I was like, why is it so hard to find? And I knew like a common name like Legend would be taken. I was
Yeah.
just hoping that somewhere down the line it would pop up. I didn't think it'd be so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But not only did it not pop up, but like some people would play the EP and it might accidentally be on like shuffle or something like that, and then it would turn to this like screamo rock band
Uh-huh.
that was called Legend.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out for the longest if there was any way to separate it. I thought it would separate by genres,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't.
Mm.
And the more I looked into this rock band, they didn't seem to have the trademark. It seemed to be a dead trademark. I could have easily got it. Probably could have sent my own cease and desist or whatever. But the thing was, they had like millions of streams
Oh.
and plays on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, all of that. And I was just like, you know what? Even if I win this thing, their music's still gonna bury mine because their plays
Sure.
are way up there. So the best thing for me to do is just bow out this battle and kind of rebrand. I just used it as a time to start over.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a blessing and a curse because it was sad to see a name go that I've had for so many years,
Yeah.
but I think it was needed. It definitely came with the change of music, the maturity and the things that I learned on the journey, and then just, you know, in a way now I get to kind of stick to my own name as well. So
Yeah.
I get to kind of use my first name, which is kind of cool.
Right. What made you pick the XO part?
So I was going through a series of names because once again I was stuck in like the name picking
It
part.
could take you a long time to
It took
figure
me
out some good names.
It took me so long because I knew the moment we were working on the EP, I knew I had to change my name. And I was probably thinking about, because I started working on the EP in actually like 2016.
Now, is this your first solo project?
No, I dropped many more, but
Oh,
this is
okay.
the first one that actually I attempted to really put out there like that. Everything else that we did, even as a group, they were on MySpace. There was a place called I can't remember. It's through like Twitter, and they had some type of media player. I want to
I don't
I want to say it was called like Twix Play or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
It was so old. I don't even remember the name of it.
Well, now, how many projects have you released like solo as Legend?
I want to say like 4.
Okay.
And most of that was just like burnt CD hand-to-hand copies through the school.
Sure. Yeah.
And then just some MySpace, that one Twitter player, and then Reverb Nation got on that for a while. And then when SoundCloud happened, you started utilizing that a little bit more. Just actually got into Bandcamp.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
know why, but I like Bandcamp, but just now got into that.
Yeah.
And the EP was my first one that I actually pushed like on a larger platform.
Okay. Yeah. So you went with the whole name change now.
Yeah, and I knew I'd have to change, and I'm glad I did that because I could have still been going to this day with the name Legend, not knowing about this rock band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that I invested and took the time to push all that forward, because now I know, and I think the change is a lot better.
And you have like a unique brand,
Yeah,
all to yourself and shit. So no
yeah,
confusion, nothing.
yeah. No, I can tend to be a very indecisive person. So like, I'm the kind of guy that I don't really have a favorite food or a favorite movie.
I'm the worst with favorites.
Yeah,
I
like,
can't pick shit
yeah.
for favorites.
If you ask me, like, if I'm interviewing, I used to do it, cause I ran track and I was I was state ranked, so I got the pace setter, and they would interview me for that, and I knew the questions they would ask, and what I do is I was like, you know what, I don't have a favorite, so I'm gonna have fun with this, and I'm gonna pick the most stereotypical thing that you would expect me to say. So when
Yeah.
they're like, "What's your favorite food?" Fried chicken. What's your favorite drink? Kool-Aid. Just whatever I felt, I was like, yep. People are gonna look at this and they're gonna be like, "There's no way that he didn't do this on purpose."
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, you can imagine how it was when the name change came around.
Yeah, so you said you were indecisive about and so
Yeah,
you're
it ended up coming down to like three different names, and one was kind of like a joke. One of the homies always used to play off my name and call me Jay Waters. He's like, sounds kind of smooth. Like,
Jay
you
Waters.
flow like water, but your last name's Atwater. I was like, well, you've been calling me that for years, so we'll put it into play now that I got to change my name.
You,
And then there was like I was trying to get like a more saucy vibe with my music, so at a point I thought about J Drip, and then I was just like, I don't know, it might sound like it's gonna play out in a few years. And then Jordan XO just kind of hit while I was like, man, I can't think of a name. I can't think of anything. I just had these two names. I didn't really like them, but I was gonna have to choose one
yeah.
because it was the only thing I could think of. I'd given up, and I don't remember what I was under the influence of, but I was just driving, having a good night, and I think I was listening to. I might have been listening to like The Weeknd or something like that, and for some reason it just popped in my head, like Jordan XO. Don't know why. As a whole, it popped in my name. Not one came first, not Jordan, and then not XO. It just all popped in my head as a whole. It was Jordan XO, and I was like, you know what? That sounds really wavy.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I like that. And then I was like, well, it's so simplistic. Somebody has to have taken it. Looked it up. I didn't see anything for it. I was like, okay, I'm going to add this to the three. I just did a little Snapchat thing, a little messaged a couple close friends, core base friends that, I've made friends through them being fans of mine and coming to every show. I just kind of reached out to them, let them know I'm changing the name, and kind of asked them their opinions on it. And Jordan XO definitely won, and I was happy that it did because I was more than likely gonna pick that anyway.
Yeah, even if they pick another one, like, you know what, forget it.
Yeah, because
Jordan XO.
that's what was gonna happen. They were going to pick a name that was gonna win, and I was just like, you know what? I don't even like it.
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah.
pick something else.
Do it again.
Yep.
But does it have anything to do with like XO, like kiss, hug, symbol type thing?
It does. It kind of has a double meaning to it. So like when I originally thought of it, like XO liquor is like, it's like the smoother brand of it. It's like for all my drinkers out there, if you have like a VSOP, so like there's like Remy or Hennessy, and then they have a Remy or Hennessy VSOP. They're a lot smoother, usually higher alcohol percentage. And that's kind of what the XO was. It was just a much smoother brand.
Ooh, yes.
And so that just kind of tied in, like, ooh, I'm Jordan with a much smoother brand. I'm the XO version of this, like.
Hell yeah.
And then also with tying in the R&B, I just felt like that would be good for like my female fan base, for like the hugs and kisses, and that kind of ties
Right.
into that R&B side of it. So I just kind of say, whichever one people catch on to first, that's the one it means.
Yeah, because it's kind of like if you signed your name lovingly, Jordan XO. Just there
exactly.
you go.
Exactly. So just like that, I might have to put like XO like 6 different times to separate it from my name, and
Yeah.
with love. but it works out.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Looks cool on paper.
Right, right.
I've wrote it a few times.
Yeah, looks good. Really good.
Yeah.
Smooth. Smooth, baby.
Oh,
Jordan
yeah.
XO. So, what was the EP you were working on then that was first released as Jordan XO? What was that one called?
Ooh, the one I'm working on as Jordan XO, I have not released anything under the name yet.
Huh?
So this is all still very fresh. What I did do is I released a track recently called Tia Valentine, and I did it under the name Legend. And like if you listen to the beat, I made the beat and it says Legend on the beat.
Oh, okay.
But I never released it. It was still a good quality song. I did the recording over at Graveyard actually when we had a news interview, and so they had like a top five, I forgot the title of the interview in the paper, which is so horrible because it was the Quad City Times. It was their big story, and it was about 5 men from Watertown, and it basically interviewed me, Torian Ball, Pootieville, Taj, that opened up East Side Sounds, and Cannon Burge, and they basically just kind of talked about all the different influences we all had. With Torian, with the name that he has, with Pootieville going viral and signing that major record deal, and still being around the area. Cannon and Taj, they had the Hoops for Hope, which was making national news and everything like that. And then I've just always been in the scene, helping artists and booking shows and stuff like that. So that's when they wanted to kind of interview us all one on one, get us in our own element. And I was working on that song at the time, so I definitely did not want to let it go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that was just sitting there, and I was like, I can't just let it go to waste because I changed the name. So I did release that under Jordan XO, and then that kind of gave me the idea to just release a free EP of all the stuff that I've been sitting on during that transition, kind of give people an idea of some type of middle ground of where my music was at and where it's heading,
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of all was happening that way with the name change. The music was changing, and it will reflect in the free EP. And what I want to do is I'm going to play it off of the EP that made me change my name. It was called Champagne Gold, and I released that into 2016 in December. And so this next one is going to be called the Rose EP, because basically start having some ties with Bel Air Champagne. We got very acquainted.
Nice.
And I what happened is I attended this black bottle party, and I met up with Andre, who was like he was an A&R at Universal Studios. So I had the opportunity to get a time spot, chopped it up with him, and he basically he gave me a pretty good confidence boost. You know, he let me know, like, hey, you know, I'll tell you now, your fan base and everything isn't there. You need a bigger presence. You're not quite there for the industry, but it's like, I can tell you, I like where it's going. And basically, if it comes across, if your name comes across the table, holler at me. So I was like, okay. So that lets me know that he believes I have what it takes to make it in that industry. I'm just not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so
He's waiting and watching.
yeah, I hope he's still watching. So basically, they had like a black bottle party that night, and it was all Bel Air champagne. And I was like, you know, it's crazy because I just dropped and showed him my EP Champagne Gold, and here I am drinking rosé champagne instead. So I was like, well, I guess that's the best way to tie this all in. You know, I came in as Legend with the Champagne Gold, and they said, well, here's a bottle of rosé. And that's how I'm just going to switch it up. That's what the rosé EP is going to be all about is, you know, things didn't go out exactly as planned, but this is what I was handed, and this is how I'm going to run with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Then from there, I do plan on releasing a solo project under my name. And right now, I'm thinking it's gonna be an album. I'm not sure if it's gonna be an LP or album, but it's gonna be called "'Twas Written in the Stars," and that's basically just gonna be the same kind of concept. Everything I believe was mapped out for me, Everything's written there. I believe in like astrology and higher powers, stuff like that. So, and a lot of fate and destiny. So I believe that's how things are going to shape out, if they're meant to shape out,
Mm-hmm.
how I believe. And I've been working on that very silently. The last EP, I'm part of the QC Drumatics, which is like a beat team. There's about 7 of us, and one of them, Elsky, he executive produced the whole project, and it's just he kept
Nice.
giving me beats that I liked. I wanted to be like on my Kanye J Cole and produce my whole album and just
Mm-hmm.
say that I did it all. But it didn't happen that way because I liked all his beats better.
Yeah.
This time around, I plan on doing it. And he did. He still keeps showing me beats that I like more than mine. So
Yeah.
he has like 4 or 5 on the project,
Nice.
but I'm still in majority as far as beats. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you produce all your own beats, but do you mostly produce your own beats and then
Yeah, for the
those
for the
other?
most part,
Yeah.
I want to say about 70% of the time I do. Otherwise, a good majority of them comes from Elsky, and sometimes even I hate to go on YouTube and look up like type beats because I know I'm gonna feel so embarrassed if I run into somebody at a show and we're doing the same beat, even if it's a
Oh
different
yeah.
song. Like
Right. Right.
I just don't want to deal with that. And
Yeah.
then a lot of people, they keep their tags in them. They don't buy them. I buy the beats. I go through. I contact the producer. I purchase at least a premium lease, if not the exclusive. Um, so a lot of times I might have a few songs that where I might have bought it online,
Mm-hmm.
but usually beforehand, I like to do a lot of test runs of my tracks. So like I'll download it as free. I'll record it. I'll see how it shapes out. If I like it, I'll probably run forward with it and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'll just kind of scrap it and
Yeah.
try to make it on my own or have Elsky make it.
Right.
I've also been working with a lot more producers this year, like Young Scrimmage and Fantana. Both of them are East Side. Um, so they're down at the studio a lot since we're kind of like co-workers at the studio and engineers. We do a little thing every Saturday where we get together and we just kind of all cook up or kick it and kind of talk business plans or whatever. So got them working on a few things with me. Um, Clay Lit, I've been working with him recently for this album. Just trying to get a little bit of everything. I plan on pre-recording a lot and then making cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I want to say I'm probably about like 40 tracks in for the album. And I don't want to push it. I wanted to release in April, but I might push back just a little bit more because there's still a lot more that I want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working on a compilation project as well through the 100 series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he put on a 100 series concert. It was like his first time doing that. His brand's not typically about music. It's just about promoting positivity. And when he did that concert, he just realized like I have a lot of artists in the area that I really like. And he's like, I would love to hear everybody on one song together or like
Right.
on one album. I was like, well, that's not a bad idea. We can make that happen. So we've put together a compilation album for this year, and we've contacted like all of his favorite producers and all his favorite artists from there, and that'll be in the works. So I have my hands in that as well.
Hell yeah.
And then I have a secret joint project, but since it's secret, I won't talk too much about it now. But
Stay tuned out there.
yes, but you will notice I'm working with someone that's gonna definitely sneak up and surprise everyone. They have no idea that we've been working on this. Only a select few do. Only a select few have heard some of the songs, but I'm really confident about that. I'm actually not sure if I'm more excited for this joint project or for my solo.
Both hoping to come out this year.
Yeah, I definitely think both will because since it's a joint project, of course I get to do like half the effort because I have someone else that's going to be working with me hand in hand, and that's going to be a very short EP,
Uh-huh.
probably about 5, 6 songs. So that shouldn't take much, and we're already about halfway through that, and I'm probably more than halfway as far as the writing and recording process for my personal album. So I definitely think if I just continue to focus on it, we should be able to execute it very easily. And that's going to be the biggest thing that I'm focused on this year is execution.
Mm-hmm.
Always have big ideas, always have big plans, but something always happens to where it never gets executed the way I want it to. And this year, I'll just, that's going to be the focus. I'm going to make sure if I say it, it has to happen.
Yes.
So hold this podcast against me.
Do it. Do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to say it, got to put it out there and fucking make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, all in the universe.
It comes down to discipline too, especially like someone like yourself working on a bunch of different things. You got to maintain a high level of discipline and like be on top of your schedule and all that shit.
And I am not. So shout out to Nakaya, who's been one of the best PAs for me like the last like year and a half since I met her. We met at a concert actually in Iowa City and just kind of hit it off and had no idea. Actually, we're in Des Moines. It was an Iowa-based city show.
Huh.
So I did it 2 years in a row. And the first year was an amazing show, so I knew I definitely had to get back on. And they were like, well, this show's going to be in Des Moines if you're willing to make that drive. I was like, well, the last show went so well. I'm definitely willing to go out there. Didn't expect to really know anybody. I thought for sure all the artists were probably going to be from Des Moines because no one wanted to really drive. But then, on the way back, she was like, so where are you going? I was like, well, to the Quad City. She's like, well, I live in Davenport. I was like,
shit.
oh, so do I, because at the time I had just moved over there. But I am back here on the east side now. But that was just kind of a funny way of, once again, things falling into place, because she wanted to get into the music scene. I was like, well, I can help you with that, and maybe you can help me out with some things too, because I can't seem to stay on top of everything. I have so much rolling in right now that I forget all the time, and then I'm just ripping and running, trying to make it from one thing to the next, and so it's helping me keep some balance there. So shout out.
Gotta have some good people in your corner. Shit.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about the right team and right surroundings. A lot of things I notice people do is when they build a team, they think it just means, I'm just going to get all the best artists and just call it a team.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like a giant Voltron Power Ranger type deal, but you can't just be a team full of artists.
Yeah.
It's great because you're going to push each other. Hopefully, at least, hopefully not everybody's being a yes man. Because it takes somebody to really push you and tell you what's not it, and you can go harder than that. But really, a team, I mean, you need someone to help you keep organized. Management, an assistant, publicist, stylist, an engineer, producer. If you don't know how to do those things yourself, especially, like you definitely need an army behind you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This shit will get clusterfucked really quick.
It will. And then you can always, the more you elevate, you'll notice there's so much more that you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point that where, I'll admit, I thought I knew it all. I was like, okay, I've done this so many times. Okay, I have to know how this works. And I'll elevate. I'll get to a certain point that where I'm in a room full of people that they're talking to me, and I'm this. So why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Well, why would you do that when you can do this? And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Like,
I guess this is how.
Fuck, there's
really
more to
works.
learn here.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. So definitely, it helps to have that team because that's what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Management. That they're there to get you the connects that you don't already have. They're there to tell you where to be, where to go, keep you on top of your shit. And if you can't do that on your own, or if you don't have the connects of your own, then I would suggest looking into it. That's any of my advice. Look into somebody that can help, guide you through it. It's everybody has this ego or this pride about wanting it to do it themselves. Just kind of how I was talking about my EP. I wanted to do it myself, but I couldn't. I just wasn't at that stage yet, and I was still new to making beats. So like sometimes when I make them, they'd come out so great when I was making them, and then when I'd bounce them out and I listened to it in the car, I was like, this sounds nothing like what I just made in the
Yeah.
headphones. So, you can't always do it yourself. There's nothing wrong with having a team of people that do know what they're doing that can help you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was gonna say, when you were talking about like when you released Tia Valentine,
Mm-hmm.
you could just all the songs you come out with that you produce, you could just have it be Jordan XO, produced by legend. So yeah, I got my own personal producer.
Actually, I could, and I thought about doing that.
This guy's got his own producer.
Yeah, I really did think about doing that because, like I said, it was never trademarked, as far as I know. I mean, it's probably still not if I
Yeah.
went back and looked at it, but it's a possibility. But you know what? I just rather eliminate the confusion.
Yeah.
There may be a couple that slip through the cracks where, who knows? Later down the line, I might just drop an alter ego project and go back to my old name. Who knows?
Right.
Just want to see how the XO wave goes right now.
Right. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Good look and everything.
Yeah.
I remember I was in a band in high school, and obviously that broke up years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like a decade or more ago. And like nowadays, I guess the dudes who I was in the band with back in the day, he said that there's a band with our name now that's like kind of getting more
Really?
popularity a little bit. Like they got like their CD at Co-op or some bullshit. It's like
Really?
well, good for them.
Now that has not happened in my experience, but hey, that is why we do things like this. People have different experiences. I've never lost a name and then had somebody pick it back up.
And back then, I think there's probably a few other people with the same name, trying to run with it or whatever. But
Yeah, but I mean,
Mhm.
still, you know about the ones that have the same name.
yeah,
Sometimes when you're doing it, but I mean, like you said, 10 years later, about a decade later.
yeah. I don't know how long they've been at it. I don't know if they were also one of the other ones from back then, and then they kept up with it and just finally
Yeah, because
broke out or something.
and I'm thinking about that because as I'm talking about all this, I started when I was like 13. It's a good decade for me, myself. So
Are you like 23?
I'm 25.
25. Hell
So
yeah, long time.
I'm getting up there. So I got
We're getting
a couple,
fucking old.
yeah, I got a couple years to really make a strong push. I really feel like musically, I want to stay an artist as long as I can. I don't want to ever be pushed back like I was to just strictly a producer, just strictly focus on an artist. I'm down to help and still down to help mold any young talent that comes my way, but I definitely have big plans of my own that I do want to execute and see get done. And I feel like I got a time span on that though. There's
Yeah.
only so much we can do with the short time we have here. And I am getting older. I've been at it a good 10 years. When you don't see too much change, eventually that just means it might be time to move around. It might not be. But the thing that keeps me here is the change that I've seen has been so progressive when I actually look back at the things I've done. I mean, I can remember the time one of the guys that was engineering our music, and the reason that I started engineering our own, I really started engineering our own because he gave up the dream one day. We just hit him up like, hey, we need to do another mixtape, and he's like, nah, man, I'm done with that stuff. I sold everything, and he's like, we're never gonna be as big as these guys or those guys. And at the time, there was a lot bigger names than us at the time around the area, and those are kind of the guys that we looked up to, that we thought were really out here, really achieving the dream that we wanted to get to. And he just thought we'd never get to that level. He's like, just be realistic. We're never gonna be those guys. We're never gonna do big shows. We're never gonna be at the Cold Ballroom. We're never gonna do iWireless. I'm just gonna pick a new career. And few years later, about a decade later, in 2016, when I did drop that EP, I've performed. Actually, I performed at the Cold Ballroom 2 years after he said that. formed a dance land, Ribco, and then yeah, in 2016 I actually did do the iWireless when we opened for Wayne.
Yeah, yeah. I thought.
So
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I thought you had played there before.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was just kind of one of the things that I look back on, like when I'm really down and out about it, and I'm just like, man, things just aren't moving the way I want. Sometimes I just have to look back and realize what I actually have done,
Mhm.
and not look so much as to what I haven't.
Yeah. Like if you can see like progression of good progress, and
Yeah.
something's up. And
Yeah.
well, fuck that dude anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like man, yeah. Listen to this guy. Like don't fucking give up on your dreams, type shit.
Yeah.
Goddamn, like.
Yeah, it just wasn't.
Because that's like a bad. It sucks. It's too bad that
Yeah.
guy had that mindset. Because that's a horrible mindset to have, honestly. Because I mean, it's not like you have to be the
Yeah.
biggest, best group out there either. You could still make like a great career doing whatever.
Yeah, and I actually just think that's a, like, I don't want to get too conspiracy theory here, but I really think that's just like a society thing. That's how we're bred to think in a way.
I think so.
You
For
know,
sure.
because and that's also funny because that was the whole concept around my Champagne Gold project, was not to give up on dreams like those, and basically not to give in to what society wants you to be,
Hmm.
because people are bred to think just like that, like, man, I need to get realistic. Who am I
Yeah.
thinking I'm going to be a rapper? I need to
They want you
go
to
to,
give up. And
yeah, I
just,
need to go to the Arsenal, or I need to
yeah,
go
go
to
get a fucking
Deer.
factory job, become just a worker bee type
Yeah,
shit.
and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do.
Right.
But if you want to do something else, then don't get scared off by the fact that people have other opinions. Because I can't tell you how many times I go day to day. I'm at a point in my music that where I can do it full time, which I love. I can go do what I need to do when I need to do it. Um, Studio time, people paying for like those engineering sessions. That's a good part of my money. Shows is a good part. I'm not seeing a whole lot big off royalty checks, and also I haven't released a lot, so of course I don't expect that. Um, but really like shows, engineering, and then getting into other business ventures. Like it led me to, bringing in bands for the city, and meeting with venue owners and booking shows myself to help them draw business. And that was just off the strength of I had networked and did so many things with so many different artists over 10 years. When people were like, man, I want to do a show and I really need an R&B singer, I'm just like, I know one.
Yeah.
Because I probably worked with them or engineered or something of that sort, to where I just bring them through. And they're like, okay, well, here's a stretch. I need a metal drummer. One of my first shows I actually did was at Mixtapes in East Moline, and it was a metal show.
Mixtape, shout out.
Yeah, shout out Mixtapes. So
Throwback.
I was like, well, I got that too. Surprise, surprise. And it just kind of continued like that, to where they're just like, well, do you just want to book the shows? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now that's kind of where things are headed, and that's pretty much, you can make it doing that.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
it just kind of depends on what you really, really want to do, and if you can see ways to make it work. Don't always have to give into the 9 to 5 lifestyle, and sometimes I need the extra cash. I might pick up one here or there,
Sure.
but once I get what I need, that supplies what I need for that moment, I'm back out of there, because I know the music money isn't as consistent,
Mm-hmm.
but it does. I am surviving off of it, and I'm doing pretty well, I'd like to say,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you also mess with like kind of hosting or promoting shows. Like, don't you do you host Nu Groove?
Yeah. So that was kind of one of the things I was talking about. It was basically just one of those things that where I was involved with it as just an artist, and then when I actually came on board as one of the organizers, so we kind of all get together between me, Beej, and Obs, and then Nakaya, and then we brought in Brian Fanning as well, Fantana, and we just kind of all sit down and we organize the shows. And so far we've had a good 2 year running, and I was a part of it. I want to say maybe after the third or fourth ever New Groove,
Uh-huh.
and so that started out actually at Theo's, and Albs could probably tell the story better because he was one of the first ones there. But it was like I think it was like a jazz band type thing, and then Albs and some other of his people got up there and did some spoken word, and then they had some guys come and freestyle over it, and it was just like it became a thing. Like,
Yeah.
wow, we have this jazz band with rappers and poets
Right,
over
right,
it,
right.
and it was just like this unique sound, but everybody had such good vibes. And so just kind of took it and ran with it, and New Groove just basically gives the opportunity to create those same vibes, bring those different genres and style of people together,
Mm-hmm.
and then give them a different experience by putting them behind like a live jazz band or a live blues band, something that they typically wouldn't do. Any artist can get up there and do backtracks,
Right.
whether their vocals are in them or not in them, just depends on the performer. But what we offer is just something so much different with that live band aspect and with the different type of crowds, and they just progressively grew and to eventually Ben down at Roz Talks was like, you know what, things have been great, here's a lineup for the whole year, just go crazy.
Hell yeah.
So now we have New Groove booked for the entire year, and we do it every other month. We get together right after the next show, reflect on, it was a good show, we had good artists, what can we do better to make the experience better, or who should we bring back, what did the crowd really gravitate to, and then we just kind of move forward from there. We try to plan everything real strategically for every show. We want
Mm-hmm.
everything to kind of have a theme to it as well, so that it's not boring. When it's Valentine's Day, we were supposed to do an R&B night, but things just kind of got ahead of us. Albs was in Haiti. I had so many projects on my hand and some other stuff going on, and Beach had things going on, so that kind of got away from us on the theme. But normally we do like Halloween, we do like costume nights, and Valentine's Day we try to have like a R&B soul band there and just kind of make it something strictly a little more smooth vibe for the lovey-dovey feel of the
Yeah, yeah.
holiday. Christmas we had we had like a cipher of like Christmas style beats, like remixing Jingle Bells and stuff like that, just something
Right.
different to create that experience.
Yeah, that Halloween one, I want some like scary beats and shit.
Yeah, we never did anything scary for that. I mean, we did have
Make like sample some beats out of like the Halloween like
Yeah.
themes and shit, the
Yeah.
scary movie soundtracks and stuff.
Yep. Either we find like we want to make them because between like the live bands and between me and Fantana electronically engineering and stuff like that, we try to keep everything in house with New Groove as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we don't have to worry about anything else on the outside. Nobody trying to get us for using their beats
Right,
or
right.
anything. And Roz Talks is a place that only host original music. They don't
Right,
do
yeah.
remixes or covers. So
Shout out to fucking Roz Talks for that shit.
thank you, Roz Talks. They've hosted us for 2 wonderful years and many, many more.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Man, all right. So for March, let's do where everyone has to be shit faced,
Mm.
especially the performers.
hmm
That'd be a crazy night.
Actually, that would be the case. We do it every other month, so the next one will be in April.
But nope, because it's a joke. April Fools.
Yep.
Next month.
So no show. No. I like where you went with that. It's a great thing.
I guess you have to
on
have an
board.
Easter show and everyone has chocolate or
You know what? I actually
dresses up as furries or something in a bunny costume.
I have to check the dates now because I actually believe I believe our next show might be 420.
Well, that's going to be themed, correct?
Ew. Because we are in Illinois and I'm not sure of the recreational.
It's decriminalized in Illinois.
It's decriminalized, definitely. But for safe speakings, to each its own, whatever you do that night. However you come is however we accept you. And however you go outside is however you come back in.
Oh, yes.
Or whatever. I don't know what I fully just said there, but
But you heard it
but
here
yeah,
first.
yeah. But you know what I'm getting at. But I believe, um, our next new groove is around the 15th or the 20th. It's somewhere close to that date though. So yeah, it could be 420 themed. It could be Easter themed.
I'd say both.
Um, yeah. I mean, if you're not too religiously offended, then hey, the Easter bunny's eyes might be red that day.
Hmm?
That's all.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You host any other events, or have you ever?
Um, I wouldn't say I'm not necessarily, so like with New Groove, like I'm an official organizer there. That's stamped approval titled. But I also did some heavy affiliation with the Supper Club. I showed a lot of support when they first opened. Gave any suggestions, any artists or anything like that to any of the organizers there.
Yeah.
I'm always there to help out, and then also, um, we tried to we're trying to eventually kind of combine things because New Groove and the things that are going on at Supper Club, they're so close to each other. They're right down the street. Rostox is way down
Hmm.
at one end, and then of downtown, and then Supper Club is way down at the other end of downtown. And so there was, I believe, two New Grooves ago. We just decided like, well, we have a show on the same day. Let's not make this a competitive thing. There's enough for every artist to. This is a great thing. Every artist has an opportunity if you don't make it for New Groove because we only have 12 slots, and we try to be real selective because, like I said, we try to theme everything.
Hmm.
So if you don't get on for New Groove, it's no offense to the artist or anything like that. It's just it wasn't for this show.
Right.
But hey, Supper Club has this going on this same day. We're gonna cut off early, and the after party is gonna be over there. So hey, everybody head down there. Just things like that. So we're all trying to get integrated and affiliate with each other because we don't want to add competition or egos or anything like that. There's enough of that going
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
We just want to create spaces for artists to do their thing, because and especially with music like what I do, like with it being hip hop based, there was a point that where they were outlawing it. We had some shows and they actually had petitions in Moline, in like downtown Moline, to where they didn't want us to do hip hop shows at
What?
certain venues. Yeah,
When and where was
there was
this?
there was a wave of beer stube shows, a long wave of beer stube shows, and
We used to play there a long time ago,
yeah, yeah.
kind of
I want to say
regularly.
like 2012 to 2014.
That was like
or
when we were
some.
kind of out there
Yeah,
more.
sometime around there, and the venue used to be really cheap rental, so of course all the artists jumped on it and put on shows. Some shows weren't the best, but some were really great. So we had really really amazing crowds, way past capacity. But few instances happened where a couple people ruined it for the rest of us,
Hmm.
like what tends to happen.
You motherfuckers.
Got words for you people if I knew who you were. But anyway, yeah, it got to the point that where they actually just had like a petition, and we had a show there. I remember one day, and all we heard back from the artist was, "Hey guys, unfortunately we got to cancel because I just got an email from Beer Stoop saying that they have this petition that they don't want these hip hop bands here anymore or whatever else, and they gave me my deposit back." And I was
What?
like, "Oh, okay." I mean, what else can you do? And there's a few other people that tried to book there, and they said they don't do it anymore. So
They stopped completely? Like, is that
I don't know
still
if
a
they
thing?
I don't know if they completely stopped, and I haven't
Like with
tried.
hip hop,
Yeah,
or?
I haven't tried recently, but I do want to go in there, and I do want to have a conversation with somebody about that because
Well, I
they
do remember the last show I set up a show for Beer Stoop, and I just got it set up to where, like, if I were to set it up any later, they had just announced like they were raising their prices to book the show and all that, to rent the space and shit. I was like, well, fuck that. This will be my last time then.
yeah, it's even stuff like that. I mean, I guess raising the price is one thing. I guess it for me it would depend on how dramatically they raised it,
Yeah.
on how I would feel about it. Um, but I think that would just go as if they saw shows are getting hot, this place is in demand, so we're gonna
Mhm.
raise our price because
Right.
if you guys really want this place, we're gonna make you pay this. But when you get to the point that where they give you your deposit back and say we're just gonna cancel your show, and like 2 days before the show was supposed to happen as well, so everything was in motion, everything was set, and literally 2 days before the show, and I didn't even want to. If I didn't see the email myself, I would have been like, why would anybody just do that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't mind revisiting it
Yeah.
and seeing, you know, what happened. You know, because hey, for all I know, I don't know the exchange that they had with them. It could have been something they may have got into it about money or negotiations. I don't know. It might not all have been the venue's fault, so I don't want to put that all on them.
Right.
At
Right.
least until I have that conversation as to, do you still do this, or do you
Yeah.
rent out your room, or
Yeah, like I
whatever
mean, I
else.
haven't noticed in recent years many shows being put on there.
I haven't either, and you know
I don't know if
what?
that's just because we have better spaces now for like the DIY scene, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
I don't even. It shouldn't be that because they're also
Like that whole area is really good too.
yeah, they're also a building that needs to generate money. Otherwise, you just have an empty space just sitting
Right.
there. So why wouldn't you want to have shows? I mean, it's a entire space, the Blackhawk Room, I believe it's called, and they got the entire space. There's a bar inside it,
Right.
and
It's not bad at all.
it's really not bad. I
It's nice,
mean,
but I don't know, and I'm probably wrong, like just talking shit. I don't even know. Like they probably have shows all the time, but I just maybe not
they
like people from around our community, you know,
yeah,
like
they
musicians
probably
we know.
do. I haven't been like around that area or really been checking for anything like that.
Yeah.
But and that's just because we've just been so wrapped up in everything that's been happening. I mean, with the supper club opening, I mean it's had a pretty good run within just its first year really being open, and then everything increasing at Roz Talks with Nu Gruv, and then they've been putting on shows for years before we even came along. So they've always had great standings, and then Ribco for a little bit started coming back and bringing back some different artists and doing some
Yeah.
different shows. So and then I'm also a part of like the East Moline Main Street here, so I kind of help with
Yeah. What does that all entail?
yeah. So the Main Street's basically like it's through the city, and they basically help revive the downtown area, and so they're helping businesses, basically giving them ways to attract new business, attract new customers, and basically help develop our city just a little bit more in that downtown area. So, we put on fundraisers, events, and concerts and stuff like that to draw people, not just from up the hill down to our downtown area, but people from other cities to come by and see it. And hopefully, we can funnel some of that money back through to get some of these buildings that are shut down, back up to par and get some new businesses open down there. And just recently, we just got that new band shell down there right across from Monarca, and we threw like our first summer concert series down there, which went pretty well in our first year. More and more people caught on. They loved it. We had some great bands, and then kind of just at the end of the year, we just reflected like, hey, we had a good run. So do we do this again? And if so, how do we make it better, do a better thing? And so I came on board just really for that aspect, because I was like, I'm not really in the downtown area, but when it comes to music, that's my area. So
Hell
if you
yeah.
guys are looking for something different, here's what I suggest, or here's what I suggest we bring to the table. So like I just kind of help with like what we should what kind of music we should have, or like what type of bands would be good to attract like a younger crowd, because we know we kind of get our base of like that 30s and up crowd, just family entertainment. A lot of the bands are like cover bands, and people just come out, they lay out in the sun, and We got food and beer tents and stuff like that. So, it's really something for like older people, but we do want our younger generation there as well too, and to kind of integrate with some of the older people. And so that's kind of what we've been working on. And we had one big finale we were working on, and we had UT coming down. We had some different artists. I was able to kind of put artists like SOM and myself and Taj and all of us all on one big bill. And it ended up falling through because we had a specific charity and a specific thing we were trying to do, and things just didn't work out how it was supposed to. um but we are going to try something like that again, and we might have like a we're just gonna have like kind of a diversity type night where we bring something different, a little bit younger. This time we're mixing it up. Like we have like a reggae band
Ooh,
coming
yeah.
in. It's not just gonna be like the same usual cover bands you would see here and there. We're reaching out to find something a little bit different. So I've been a part of that for a while now, and that's something else that I'm just trying to also help other artists get their foot in the door
Hmm.
and get exposure to people on like a city level or on like a bigger level. It's definitely for certain artists though,
Yeah.
because there's not every artist can get out there and please people's moms and grandmas with their music,
Yeah.
so
Dude, that band show would be the perfect spot to have some small local fests, like host
yeah,
there or
it
something, you
actually
know?
would. And
Fucking love playing outdoor shows too. It's so
yeah,
fun.
there was another show, other than our there was a few other ones other than our summer concert series, and we had Two White Crew in the boy band
Oh yeah.
review, yeah, and there were hundreds of people out there, and it was a
Yeah.
great, like, the first night got rained out, or actually was it the second night? I can't remember because they were kind of both back to back. It was like a weekend of the classic, so you could buy tickets and just after the classic go downtown, and you had this live band there at the band shell, and it was just kind of one of those like 21 up things
Hmm.
because it's definitely different music, way younger crowd. The alcohol, we had these things called big green tanks or big green tractors. I can't remember, but they were big, green, and dangerous with lots of alcohol.
Nope.
So we had that, and then we also had like Freedom Fest, and we had like Randy Couture down here, the MMA fighter, and he just kind of came through on his motorcycle and did like a huge motorcycle ride with all these bikers from the Quad Cities.
Nice.
And then we had some bands for that as well. So we're definitely always thinking of different ways to utilize that, and like I said, just attract more people to our East Moline area.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's just a good way for me as an artist to kind of give back to my own city as well. Like,
Definitely.
I'm not the big major industry artist where I can donate millions back into my community, but I can give you guys some good entertainment.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
Most definitely. Now, when you think about the future, what do you think? Like, where do you want to go yourself? I mean, you want to keep producing and working with music
so
for
when
as long as you think?
yeah, in all honesty, so like I believe I'm limited on time as far as actually being like on stage in the limelight up front as an artist. Um, I would like to be on a global major industry level. I'd like the Grammys, the Oscars, whatever else, you know.
Hell
But
yeah.
that's because I want more than just a few people to hear my music. I don't necessarily want it for the fame. I want it because I want the world, everyone, to hear my music and what it is that I have to say in there. And that is the ultimate goal for me. And I at least want to see some type of progression that I'm getting there. If I don't see that, then, you know, I can't chase that dream forever.
Hmm.
But what I can do is I will always come back to music. I might be 60 years old and I might write a song
Right.
and record it one day just because I love it and I feel like doing it. But if it ever comes time for me that where I have to focus and settle down with my family, and if I have to get that factory job, if I got to do what I got to do to make ends meet, I at least will be full-time production. I'll at
Yeah.
least be behind somebody else that I believe can go the places that I didn't.
Hmm.
And hopefully my kids want to do the same thing, and then I'll
There you go.
put them on, and that'll just be that. But yeah, if I don't work out full time as an artist, then I would definitely look to more on the production engineering side.
Mm-hmm.
I might open up a studio of my own and
Sure,
just
yeah.
kind of have it there to help develop artists, because actually I do have a lot of fun helping these artists and watching them grow and seeing what they can do and the different music that they make. Like Micah Santamore, he's actually a folk artist.
Oh yeah.
So like working with him is so much different than what I do. And then it's kind of fun because some days we'll be like, let's see how we can mix this together. And so we have a couple songs together where it's like this mix of like folk, jazz, and hip hop. And that's just as fun as like pushing myself. So at the end of the day, long run, I will be perfectly happy as long as I can still do music
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. I don't think I would want to be like a full time promoter or anything like that. I believe it after a while it get a little too
Oh
stressful
yeah.
here and there, because it's stressful as it is, especially like if I lack on promo or something like that. I'm just always, it just eats away at me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, this could have been so much better, and I just always feels like I could have did something more.
Right.
So yeah, I don't want to feel like that all the time. I
Right.
just want to have a good show, have a good time. I'll attend a lot of concerts though. I will definitely still attend a lot of those.
Oh yeah. Feel you. Now, do you or have you ever or do you want to like pursue things outside of music? Like currently, do you only do music? Do you do any other sort of things,
Um,
or just stick to music at this point?
honest. So with music, it's so big for me because I've literally given everything to it. Um, in high school, I did run track, but it was never like a love of mine. It
Yeah.
was just like I wasn't the most athletically, well, I was, but like I was too small for football, too short for basketball. I ran track, but soccer is a whole different type of too much running.
Oh yeah, dude. It's
Yeah,
all running.
yeah, back and forth.
Just full clip.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. Um, I did play baseball some years, but I took a fastball to the face and I was done.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was some track was something that I was very good at. I was nationally ranked. We had a time that was number one in the state for a while. Um, we went to state every year since I was a freshman. Came on varsity, everything like that. Had a great run. Still have technically 5 records at UT.
Nice.
So like we broke a 30-year record. Like my sophomore or junior year, I believe. We broke a 30-year record that was up there. And then we broke a sophomore record. And then my junior year junior year. Junior or senior year, I can't remember. It's so long ago now, which is weird. We re-broke those 2 records.
Oh really?
So I count them as 5.
Nice. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just want to add
Definitely.
them on.
Of course.
Technically, I have 3 records up there, but I'm gonna say 5 for the sake that we
Shit.
re-broke 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, but with that, it was never really a love of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something that I was good at.
Or a fun hobby maybe.
It wasn't even, after a while, like at that intensity, it wasn't fun for me.
Yeah.
It was just like
became
always.
like almost like a chore or homework. Or
Yeah,
something.
it was just too much of a push. It was like, oh, you need this to get in college, or oh, you
Yeah.
need this to basically, it was like people thought that I needed that to be anything in life.
Yeah.
And that was where my whole life was going. And I didn't like the idea of someone telling me this is your life. This is
Yeah.
what you're meant to do. Go do it.
And
That
no
was
one
one of
can
those
tell you
things that
that.
where society was trying to put that in my head, and I was like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I don't want to do that. And there was times I would skip practice and I would go do a show, or I would just rather be in the studio. So I'd be like, I'm just gonna go home. I'm just not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
go, or whatever else. And it eventually it did lead to like a lot of I probably didn't practice or stretch or do as much as I should have. I was very injury prone.
Yeah.
So there are times when my team needed me most, I tore something and
Mm.
I just wasn't at my 100% best. And I don't want to say that was because I was skipping practice or going to shows, but I will say there's more I could have done to be a better teammate, probably, now that I look back on it. And really, the reason I just never did it is because I was just never into it.
Yeah.
But all I remember is there was one thing that I was into, and that's all I wanted to do. So it's like, man, I was a bad teammate, and there might have been times I might have let my team down or I let myself down to where I could have did more with it, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't for me.
And even if you choose to pursue something like that even more heavily, then it's just other things come up, like, dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
Hopefully not all the time, but if you were like an athlete for several years and stuff, you'd be dealing with that kind of shit.
Yeah,
Like,
I had the good injuries, and by good injuries I mean the ones that I got them early and it took me out the whole year injuries.
damn.
So, yeah, I had a few of those, but it's just still, I believe even if I was 100% healthy all the way through, it's one of those things that when you progress with it, on a college level, it would have been so much more intense and so much
Oh
more
yeah.
demanding. And all I could think about is, if this continues, I'm not going to have time for this, which was music. So it was like something had to give. And that's just kind of ended up what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I kind of gave a lot to it. There was really never any other interest, with me being so indecisive. I never knew what I wanted to do. People always knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. I didn't.
Yeah.
But I will say, never in a million years did I think that I'd be the one to say it was a rapper.
Yeah.
That never once crossed my mind. Never once. But now that it has, and now that I'm seeing a lot of it happen, I wouldn't have chosen any other way.
Right.
I almost kind of wish that I knew sooner.
Yeah. It was crazy the paths we end up taking. And
Yeah.
shit. Like, who knows? And who knows where it could end up too. I know earlier you were talking about wanting to get into other business ventures and stuff.
Mhm.
As you get older and everything, what's something you think you would be into getting into outside of music that you would like to maybe pursue?
That's a tough one. Honestly, if it's not music, then it'll probably be something that I'll have to feel around for.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be something that where, like I said, if it comes down to where needs need to be met and music isn't cutting the checks that I need for survival, and I have to do something, I might stumble upon a career that I do like,
Right.
that, just like music, I would have never thought I would have been doing. But as of right now, there's nothing that I can say that I really want to do outside of this. Like, my head is full throttle into this, and that's not even because I'm trying to make it my mindset. It's just literally, I can't think of
It's all
anything else.
clouding your thoughts. Just
Yeah,
music.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to do. I do think about it, like, okay, if this doesn't work out, what am I gonna do?
Or even if, like, with
Yeah.
being successful
Or
in
yeah,
music,
even
if
if
it
I- so,
opened up
like-
other doors for you, like as far as like investments, like even if you had like a
I would
other
probably-
partners or something, it's like, oh, let's open up a fucking restaurant or some bullshit,
Yeah, it would probably still be music related, because
Yeah.
if I had success off music, then I would stay in that and say I did everything that I accomplished. I got Grammys sitting on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm like 50, and I've had a good career. I got platinum plaques and whatever else, and it's time for me to do something else besides rap, because I'm not gonna be a 50-year-old guy rapping. It's just not gonna be me. I would probably settle to be like an A&R, or just still a producer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can produce for years. Quincy Jones is
Yeah.
so old. Smokey Robinson, all of them, they still have their hands in music. They're still songwriting, producing. and I would do that on that level. You know, I might get into bigger. I might just at that point just start playing around with things I've never done,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's just like I'm gonna orchestrate full orchestras now.
I love that kind
And
of shit.
I'm just gonna bring it all into music. I'm just gonna write movie scores or
Right,
something
right.
like that, but it will be music based.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's a hard question to ask someone like, what would you do out besides your passion? It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, well, people have a plan B, and
Yeah.
they do.
Like, I'm fucking just, like, I'm pretty fucking indecisive myself, and I'm just like all over the place. It's like I have to be doing like different types of projects, or else I'll be driven crazy and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's ridiculous. So, so what all is in the future? The immediate future. You got the 2 albums coming out probably this year.
Yeah, immediate future right now. So I have my solo, and then I have a joint project. And then I have the compilation project. I haven't dropped any. I've been featured in music videos, but I've never dropped my own. So that's also a goal this year. I want to drop 2. Right now there is one that I probably will drop for 20, and we have a little secret thing planned out for that too. It's a little partnership that we worked out for that video, and then there's one more that I want to release. There's actually 2 more that I want to do, but budget's gonna be a big thing.
Yeah.
And then just timing. You know, hopefully we get the necessary song done in the allotted time to get the music video placed strategically with the album release and EP release. Everything's just gonna take money and time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I have no doubt about the actual music and getting it done and recorded, but it's just so expensive and consuming, and it takes so much planning.
So much resources put in.
The behind the scenes work is honestly the hardest part of it. The recording and whatever, I mean, it's easy. Don't get me wrong, it's not always easy because technology can be horrible. Stuff crashes,
Yeah.
or your voice cracks, or you're sick, or you're stuffed, or it was so hot in your head, and when it's on the song, it's like, this is horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Why did I think this was cool? That happens, but
Yeah.
it's really the budgeting and the planning and actually like the execution that's the hardest part of it.
Mhm.
So as long as that all happens, immediate future, 3 projects, 2 to 3 visuals, and I am actually hoping to do like a pretty big blowout show. I don't know if it's going to be festival based or not, but I do want to get like, I just want to do something epic. I don't know.
Like as an album release or something, or just in general?
I want to say album release, but this is one of those things where I'm shooting real high because I just have all these thoughts, so I have to narrow it down later on.
Right,
but
right.
you know, I want to do something pretty big, and use the connections that I've made over the years. Because you know, now if I really wanted to, I mean, if I could use that band shell in East Moline,
Oh, yeah.
I could do something there. And kind of the same idea I was going to put on for that last show of the summer concert series. You know, we had artists performing off flatbed semis with live bands.
Hell yeah.
I had a couple DJs coming with like laser light shows. You know, I want to do it all. You know, maybe I might find somebody that can shoot my name in fireworks. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking big, so I just
Hey,
want it
I'm
to
sure they
be-
could at least pull off. They could shoot up an X and an O.
Yeah, I mean,
They could do that shit.
I just want to pull the city out, and that's what I mean by a big blowout show. Like, I just want everybody there, everybody to have a good time, and to look back, whether I make it or whether I don't make it, and say, you know what? I remember one time in like 2018, 2019. I'm probably too old to remember which year it is by now, but I had one hell of a show in the Quad Cities, in the hometown.
Fuck yeah.
And I want everybody to know about it. Like, I want my kids' teachers to tell them, like, oh, your dad's blah, blah. I remember this one time he threw
Yeah.
this huge party, and I just want one of those.
Hell yeah.
It might not happen this year, but
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, with
We're gonna make
hopefully
it happen.
right connections, right things in place, I can at least organize. Like I say, I don't consider myself an official promoter, but I would like to put on a show that where I am the full organizer and promoter and just do it to the fullest. I might even want to bring like a major name down. I don't know.
Even if you tried to do it as like, even if it worked out, you could even set it up as like a yearly little fest or something
Yeah,
too.
and honestly,
And keep growing it until big and bigger.
I wouldn't mind someone else even over like, okay, you're the president for this one. I'm just gonna oversee and make sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and other than that, just keep it running for me.
Fuck yeah.
Just leave a legacy behind. That's
Right.
really that's ultimately what I want to do. Is I at the end of the day, I know I'm leaving something behind. Even if I were to bow out of this right now,
Mm-hmm.
I can say I've done way more than anyone else that I know personally. There's not many friends that can say they've opened for Lil Wayne. There's not many people that can say they've performed for 7 to 10,000 people. There's not many people that are going to say, you know, I was in the club where the Cleveland Cavaliers were partying and J.R. Smith jumped in a swimming pool. I was in Cleveland one day and it happened.
Nice.
So, yeah, not many people will have those experiences. So at the end of the day, I can leave that behind, and I just can leave behind my own legacy of the things that I've done. It may not have been on the grandest scale that I wanted it, but that is something, and that's what matters.
Hell yeah, most definitely. Now, for those listening, how can they get a hold of your shit?
For those of you that are listening, with the name change as well, one thing I took into consideration, I have a lot of people, especially like new artists I come across, and I want to check them out, and they always have 27 different links that are completely different, and I never remember them. I get home, I'm like, I'm going to look this guy up, and I forget. And it's always like, you know, if their name's like Ace, then their Instagram's like Ace12777.
Sure.
And then you can find me on Facebook at Who is Ace, but I'm Ace. And then you can find me on Snapchat at Ace. And it's just like, bro, I'm not going to remember all these links. So if you are listening and you want to find me, it is real simple. It is Jordan XO Music. That is everything. You will find me on Facebook if you / Jordan XO Music. Twitter, Jordan XO Music, all one word. Instagram, Tumblr, even my Snapchat is Jordan XO Music. My YouTube, it is up, but it's not fully polished because I'm waiting to put some visuals on there. I have a couple show clips and everything. The Wayne highlights on there. The Iowa City show from Kawada's on there. In my favorites, I have music videos from my first artist, Keontae Watson. He's still doing his music, still doing his thing. That's like my little brother, so you'll see his music on there. Lauren Michelle, her music videos on there. And then, if you subscribe to it, then you will find my music videos when they do drop. And then I am on Spotify and Apple Music. I did release the Ties to Champagne Gold. I tried to take it down, but it's still up there.
Yeah.
So if you guys are just curious about what I did in 2016, this is a little more difficult, but you have to look up Legend Champagne Gold. And it should pop up. It's just a picture of it's all black, it's champagne bottle like splashing out everywhere. It actually looks pretty cool. I think you'll like it.
Do you have a website or no?
Website is under construction, but it will also be JordanXOMusic.com.
Stay tuned. Website.
So I will announce that. Just like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat if you want to see the daily hood rat shit that I do, and Jordan XO Music. You should be able to find it fairly easily.
Fuck yeah, 2019, get on all that social media shit like you do.
Yes,
Jordan
and
XO Music.
Obviously, you are subscribed if you are listening or watching this, but do subscribe to the MOBCAST, Minds Obliterating Minds, and I will link that in all of my links. So if you're following my links, but you're not following this link, you have to follow both.
Well, thank you, sir. And thank you for being here. Get on it.
Thank
Jordan
you for
XO Music. Yes, not a problem.
Yes.
Always very good talk. Very good talk. Wish you much success in the future, sir.
Thank you, my good
Keep
son.
your eyes peeled for the joint project,
Yeah,
and the
that's a
solo project, and the collab project.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that is right.
Jordan XO music, very simple, very nice and clean for you. You won't fucking forget.
Nope.
And if you're fucking got a slow brain, just write it down.
Yeah. So
Hit it up, hit it up, hit it up. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Bye 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 bye.
And we are signing off.